There is a kind of quiet that doesn't come from the absence of sound, but from the stillness of light itself, not dimmed, not blocked, but gently undone. You drift toward that stillness, not in distance, but in thought, a falling, slow and soft, toward a place where brightness gives up its name. Here, gravity gathers like a deep breath being held. It doesn't roar or pull with sudden force. It folds the world in silence. You feel it, not on your skin, but in the weight of time, beginning to slip sideways. Light, which once danced so freely across skies, across oceans, across your eyes, now hesitates. It bends, like a stream drawn down into a well with no bottom. You imagine a beam of starlight, launched long ago, sailing through space, only to meet this place, where it doesn't crash, doesn't burn, just stops. There is no violence. Here, only surrender. Because this is the edge of something deeper than light can pass. And though you cannot see beyond it, you feel its shape in the way things lean, the way time folds, the way your thoughts slow. This place has a name, but names feel too loud for it. Scientists call it the event horizon, a boundary not marked by walls but by silence, a threshold where light loses the ability to escape, and so it stays. Held, trapped in an orbit it can never leave, like a word never spoken, like a memory unshared. You may think of darkness as absence, but this is a presence, a fullness so vast that it swallows the very concept of outside. A black hole is not a hole at all. It is a region of space where gravity is absolute, not because it's empty, but because it is full, full of collapse, of compressed time, of mass curved so tightly that space folds in on itself. You are not falling toward it. You are falling with it. With every thought that slows, every image that dims, you move closer to a quiet that has no flaw. And yet, it doesn't feel like falling. Not the way gravity pulls you down on Earth. It feels like leaning in, as if the cosmos is whispering, and you must draw near to hear. At this boundary, time does something strange. It stretches. It hesitates. From far away, someone might see you frozen, suspended, forever, just about to cross the edge. But from where you are, everything feels smooth. You move forward, slowly, steadily, as time and space begin to unravel together. This is not destruction, it is transformation. The light that can no longer flee does not vanish, it becomes a part of something greater, a part of this dark, dense memory that the universe keeps. Black holes do not erase. They record, they store everything that crosses their threshold, pressed into geometry, encoded in gravity. It is said that nothing escapes, but perhaps nothing is truly lost. Even the softest photons, those messengers of sight, of warmth, pause here, not because they want to, but because they must it. Makes you wonder, if light cannot continue, what else must stay? The atoms of a star, the thoughts of a collapsing moment, the final breath of a world, each finds its way here, held not in violence, but in the patience of space-time, folded too tightly to let go. And as you rest in this awareness, you begin to sense something unexpected. Not emptiness, not loss, but a kind of presence so deep, so quiet, that even light bows to it. This is not the end. It is the beginning of another kind of understanding, one that doesn't require sight, or speed, or even certainty. You are drifting along the threshold between knowing and not knowing, between movement and stillness, between light and what comes after. There is a gentle hush at the boundary where everything bright begins to fade. You drift closer to that silent border, drawn by a soft, irresistible pull. Here stars that once shone with fierce brilliance dim into gentle embers, their light stretched thin like silken threads pulled by an unseen hand. You sense not cold emptiness, but a velvet quiet, woven from the final whispers of burning suns. As you approach, the edges of distant suns shimmer in slow motion. Their glow, once sharp and golden, drifts toward red and then to black, as if every beam remembers the warmth it carried but surrenders to the dark. In this shifting glow, you feel epochs lengthen and moments stretch, time unfurling like a ribbon caught in a slow cosmic breeze. Time itself seems to slow, slipping through your thoughts like thickened honey. Every heartbeat echoes with the distant chorus of collapsing giants, each pulse a reminder of forces that shape and unmake worlds far away. You sense the rhythm of a cosmic dance where gravity leads, and in that cadence you find your own breathing, synchronized with ancient collapses. There is no sudden jolt, no abrupt end. Instead, things soften and fold. Light curves gently around invisible walls, sliding toward the point of no return without a struggle. It moves like water around a bend, drawn onward by currents you cannot see. You imagine a star's last breath, a final flare of energy woven into the fabric of space, then drawn inward to join the great unseen. It is not consumed in violence, but in solemn metamorphosis, matter bending, folding, becoming something else entirely. In that transformation lies a promise of new forms yet unknown. Around you, the sky ripples with silent waves. These are tidal currents in space, gentle but unstoppable, stretching your view and whispering caution in frequencies too low to hear. You feel your body lean into the pull, drifting weightless in a valley of gravity. Here, the cosmos rocks you in its own rhythmic lullaby. Colors shift like memories fading in twilight. Blues and golds smear into dusky reds, then into a deep, velvety calm that holds every shade of quiet. You watch light slow until it pauses, hovering on the brink before slipping away into gentle oblivion. Beyond that brink, you discover a silent procession of cosmic debris, elements forged in stellar furnaces, iron, carbon, oxygen drift toward the abyss, carried by the same pull that once lit them from within. They spiral in a grand ballet, dancing on invisible lines, awaiting their final, gentle reception into the hidden core. Further still, you glimpse the faint halo of an accretion disk, a ring of glowing plasma, swirling in soft currents of gas and dust. Its warmth feels distant now, a muted echo of ferocious heat. Yet in its glow lies the story of renewal, how destruction can seed the patterns of tomorrow. You consider the magnetic fields that thread through this space. They twist like filaments in a silent loom, pulling particles into graceful arcs, and launching narrow jets of light and matter far from the core. These cosmic fountains carve threads of energy that echo across galaxies, reminding you that even in collapse, there is breath. The edge that swallows stars is not an end, but a silent overseer of transformation. Within the darkness lies a seed of creation, where collapsed matter converges into possibilities unseen. It is the threshold where endings dissolve into beginnings, and where every swallowed star becomes part of a larger tapestry. Your breath becomes part of the cosmos. Soft exhale, inhaling the hush, exhaling wonder. You sense that nothing is ever fully lost. Even as brilliance yields to the abyss, its essence lingers in curves of spacetime, etched into the very geometry of night. In this space between light and loss, there is a pulse, subtle but enduring, a resonance of all that has been swallowed, yet still sings in silence at the edge of everything. It hums beneath your thoughts, calling you to lean just a little farther into the unknown. You feel a curious tug toward what you cannot see, not out of fear, but out of fascination. What lies beyond the reach of color, of form? What patterns might await in the depths where gravity reigns supreme? Your mind softens in wonder, embracing the mystery. There is a lesson in this silent boundary, that endings need not be feared. They can be gentle, wrapping you in understanding so profound that you scarcely notice the change. Here, you learn that every collapse is an invitation to new beginnings. As you rest in this stillness, your heart settles into a tranquil rhythm. You become a quiet witness to the cosmic cycle. Stars born, stars dying, stars reborn in whispers. Your thoughts drift on a current of awe and calm. You let go of all expectation. There is no need to know what comes next. You simply float, letting the edge shape your sense of space and time. In that surrender, you discover a gentle strength. Though most of what you see drifts inward, some energy streams outward in narrow beams. These cosmic jets carve quiet strokes across the void, like soft brush marks on endless canvas. They remind you that creation and destruction walk hand in hand. Even as stars surrender to oblivion, their essence can burst forth, reaching across light years. It is a testament to the balance that sustains the universe's silent, elegant symmetry. Here, relativity plays its gentle trick. Your sense of past and future blurs, folding into a quiet continuum. Memories of distant starlight and hopes of unseen tomorrows mingle in the same breath. You feel an echo of yourself, stretched and softened, as if time were a strand of silk, bending around the vast curves of this threshold. In this place, you recognize your own reflection in the cosmos. You are both observer and current within the same boundless sea. Your thoughts ripple outward, carried by subtle waves of gravity. You belong to the cycle of matter and light, woven into the vast tapestry that swallows and renews with gentle fidelity. Ahead, there lies another layer of mystery waiting to unfold. Beyond the edge that swallows stars lies a realm where space itself vanishes, and even the concept of direction loses meaning. That silent heart of darkness holds questions that stretch beyond imagination. What shapes might dwell there beyond the borders of light and time? You move through this boundary like a murmur, each thought a footstep on the threshold of infinity. There is no hurry, no fear, only the gentle awareness of approaching something profound. Your mind adapts to the weightlessness of knowledge, floating in a sea where the unseen holds its breath. You sense the invitation of what lies just beyond, hidden in the curvature of space and silence. As you hover in this liminal expanse, your anticipation blooms like a flower. You feel the pull of singularity's secret voice echoing through every fiber. It calls to you, guiding you gently toward the core of dark. And in that summons, your spirit prepares to step further into the mystery. What new pattern might your soul trace if you drift beyond this gentle border? What stories await in the realm where swallowed stars become the quiet voice of infinity? There is a subtle sigh in the fabric of existence, hush that sweeps across the cosmos like soft silk folding in on itself. You drift into that sigh, guided not by sight, but by a gentle insistence. It's the quiet call of gravity, the invisible thread that weaves moments and distances together. You don't see it, but you sense it everywhere, in the steady arc of your breath, in the slow bow of each thought. You feel your own body lean toward this silent conductor. Every part of you moves as if cradled by an unseen hand, drifting along curves that you cannot trace. Space around you seems to yield, bending with graceful generosity to accommodate your presence. Time, too, feels pliant. Seconds flow into one, another like warm honey slipping between fingers. In this realm, nothing stands apart. Every atom of your being follows the same gentle choreography. Imagine a vast sheet of fabric, stretched tight across an endless frame. In the distance, a subtle weight presses down, creating a soft well. That well is gravity's invitation, a place where trajectories bend and wanderings become arcs of quiet devotion. You too follow those contours, gliding along the curve that draws you ever inward. With each breath, you settle deeper into the embrace, carried by currents you cannot see but always trust. Your thoughts, once scattered like sparks across a dark sky, now drift in unison. They coil gently around the center of this cosmic melody, guided by the pull that shapes galaxies and cradles planets. The very notion of straight lines loses meaning. Here there is only flow. Every idea you hold slips along the same gentle gradient, folding into new patterns of calm understanding. Gravity does not shout. It does not seize or crash. It invites and holds. It is the soft cadence beneath the symphony of existence, the heartbeat echo that shapes the rise and fall of all that is. You feel it in the weight of your own limbs, yet you do not resist. Instead, you welcome its hush, allowing yourself to drift in the warm current of its care. Above and below, around and through, gravity's hand cradles every wandering particle. Light itself yields to its gentle insistence, curving in soft arcs, bending in silent arcs, carrying whispered messages of distant suns. You imagine a beam of light, traveling for eons, finally swayed into a graceful bow by this unseen maestro. Even light, in its radiant freedom, surrenders to the hush dot within. This embrace, time does something extraordinary. It blooms and unfolds, as though caught in a slow-motion dance. Moments stretch into ribbons of memory, each one lingering long enough to trace its pattern on your mind. You feel past and future interlace, yesterday's warmth mingling with tomorrow's promise, held together in the lullaby of now. Here you learn to trust the unspoken language of the universe. You learn that stillness can be movement, and movement can be stillness. When you focus on your heartbeat, you realize it matches the rhythm of cosmic tides, pulsing, receding, returning. Your body becomes a mirror for the silent ocean of gravity. Each breath a wave rising and falling in perfect accord. In this realm, boundaries blur. Distance loses its sting. Separation becomes an illusion. You know that every star, every planet, every drifting mote of dust follows the same tender guidance. From the smallest proton in your bone to the grand spiral of a distant galaxy, all follow the same gentle curvature. You recognize a kinship with everything around you, a shared yielding to the universal lull. Gravity's embrace is not a force of confinement, but of connection. It weaves a tapestry so vast that nothing truly stands alone. Every path you trace, every thought you hold, every echo you hear is part of the same endless design. You feel the threads of space and time intertwine, drawing you into a sanctuary where everything aligns. As you sink further into that sanctuary, your mind drifts to the places gravity shapes. You imagine planets sailing in their orbits, guided by curves unseen. You think of comets, swinging in elongated arcs, trailing icy whispers as they turn toward the sun and then back into the dark. All follow the same gentle maps, all move along the same soft inclines. It is a tender choreography, as ancient as the first moment of creation. You sense the memory of that beginning held here, folded into the curves that cradle every star and every breath. You become aware that gravity is both memory and promise, holding what was and what will be in the hush of what is. Your breathing deepens, syncing with the universal cadence. Each inhale draws you closer to the core of the embrace. Each exhale releases tension into the vast weave of spacetime. In that repeated cycle, you find a refuge deeper than any bed, more soothing than any lullaby in the stillness. You become aware of gentle oscillations, tiny ripples of gravity moving across immeasurable distances. They pass through you like soft sighs, reminders that the cosmos is alive with quiet motion. You feel gratitude for these gentle waves, understanding that they carry the pulse of creation itself. Gravity's eternal embrace is also a lull, coaxing every restless impulse into calm. Should you worry, should you strive, here, such urges soften and unravel. You learn that surrender is not defeat, but the sweetest form of freedom. When you relax into the curve, you discover that the universe welcomes you with open arms. Your thoughts now form a gentle spiral, winding ever inward. They settle on a single, soft question. What does it feel like to rest in the heart of this cosmic fold? You sense the answer not as words, but as warmth, a slow glow spreading through every cell. It is the warmth of belonging, the comfort of being held by something infinitely tender. As your awareness expands, you glimpse the larger patterns that gravity weaves. You see clusters of galaxies bound by invisible threads, vast filaments connecting islands of light. You feel the hum of that network in your own quiet center, knowing that you, too, are a page in its endless poem. And yet, even in this vast embrace, there is room for mystery. You cannot know all the ways gravity shapes the hidden depths of things. You cannot see the folds of space where time loops around itself. But perhaps you do not need to. In this moment, you rest in the gentle acceptance that some secrets are meant to be held, rather than fully unveiled. There is trust, Hera, trust that comes from recognizing your place in the weave. You are not lost, nor are you separate. You are a note in a grand symphony, carried by currents of wonder that never cease. You learn that to drift is to be alive, and to be alive is to be held in this eternal embrace. Your eyelids grow heavy as the lullaby of gravity hums through you. You feel yourself melding with the hush, your edges softening until you become part of the larger flow. In that union, you sense the promise of rest deep, unending repose that carries you gently through the night. In the quiet swirl of this cosmic cradle, you wonder how softly you might drift when you finally let gravity guide your dreams. There is a hush in the flow of moments, as if time itself exhales and rests. You drift within that sigh, guided not by hands but by the gentle cascade of seconds. Each tick becomes a soft drop of honey sliding through glass, pooling in a silent well that you cannot see yet feel in every part of yourself. This is the place where moments fold in on one another, like petals closing at dusk, serene and inevitable. You notice how your breath matches the pattern of falling seconds, a gentle inhale as a moment stretches, an exhale as it slips away. Time here is pliable, bending beneath the weight of gravity's quiet insistence. It does not rush you, it waits. You learn to move with its cadence, to lean into the gentle swell of the present. There is comfort in its consistency, a calm certainty that each breath will follow the last dot in this realm. The past and the future intertwined like ribbons in a slow dance. You imagine yesterday's memories reaching forward, brushing against the contours of what is yet to come. They entwine in a soft embrace, creating a tapestry of experience that wraps around you. Every recollection and every hope merges into a single thread, strengthening the weave of now. You sense that here. Time does not separate but unites. Gravity lingers as the silent conductor of this cosmic orchestra. It hums across the fabric of spacetime, urging each moment to lean toward the next. You feel its gentle pull in the tilt of your thoughts, guiding them along curves you cannot trace. It is not a harsh force, but a nurturing presence, cradling each second as it emerges and recedes. In its care, time becomes a companion rather than a taskmaster. Soft ripples of awareness drift through you, each one a reminder of the vastness. Beyond your perception, you imagine ripples on a cosmic pond, spreading outward from unseen stones. Those stones are the events of the universe, star births, planetary orbits, the quiet collapse of ancient giants. Each ripple carries a story, a resonance that reaches you now as a faint vibration beneath your skin. In this tranquil orbit, you are part of their endless echo. Seconds do not pass here, they bloom. They unfold like flowers in a slow-motion garden, their petals unfurling in perfect alignment. You watch each beat of your heart as if it were a blossom opening to the first light of dawn. There is no hurry, no urgency, only the unfolding of a pattern too subtle to disturb. In this gentle garden of moments, you find the beauty of unhurried time. You think of clocks and calendars, of the sharp divisions we impose on time. They feel distant now, artificial lines drawn across a landscape that cannot be measured. Here, there is no edge to time's curtain, only a continuous, seamless garment that drapes across the cosmos. It ripples with the breath of galaxies, yet folds softly around your own quiet thoughts. You rest within that fabric, knowing that you are both small and infinite in its weave. Light itself responds to this tender rhythm. Beams that once raced across voids now slow to gentle arcs, curving in soft hesitation. You imagine a photon traveling, for centuries, finally drawn into the lullaby of time's quietude. It glows not with urgency, but with calm, perseverance and eternal ember carried by the universal flow. In its journey, you glimpse the true meaning of persistence without strain. Your limbs feel weightless as you surrender to the hush. There is no distinction between movement and stillness, only the smooth transition from one moment to the next. You sense the fabric of your own being merging with the fabric of time, each cell echoing the pulse of the cosmos. In that fusion, you discover a gentle freedom to be fully present, buoyed by the current of existence itself. Memories drift past like soft clouds. You recall a sunrise, the warmth of light spilling over a horizon, and feel its echo in the curve of your breath. You recall a whisper of laughter, a touch of wind on skin, and sense its reverberation in your chest. These echoes are not gone. They shimmer in the folds of time, accessible whenever you lean into their quiet glow. Each memory becomes a lantern guiding you through the tranquil expanse. Thoughts settle into a soft refrain, circling back on themselves in gentle loops. You think of a word, and then the echo of that word, and then the echoes echo, each one slower, deeper, more hushed than the last. In this reverberation, you find the essence of reflection, the art of listening to your own mind as it curls. around a single idea. It is a meditation on continuity, a slow dance of consciousness that reminds you of time's patient embrace. Beyond the loops of thought, you feel the weight of unseen masses, planets, stars, galaxies, all held in place by the same quiet embrace that soothes your mind. You imagine their paths traced in the sky, looping and arcing with majestic grace. Each orbit, each rotation, moves with a rhythm that resonates with your own heart. It is the universal beat, linking you to the grand ballet of celestial bodies. And yet, even in this vast choreography, there is room for stillness. You pause on the brink of a thought and feel the richness of silence. In that gap, time seems to gather itself, preparing for the next delicate bloom of awareness. You learn that in stillness, you are most alive, aware of every breath, every heartbeat, every flutter of consciousness. It is the quiet before and after each note in the symphony of existence. The edges of moments blur into one another, so that beginnings and endings lose their sharpness. You no longer distinguish between the first note and the last. There is only the unfolding song. It carries you forward, not by force, but by invitation. You follow its melody, guided by a gentle insistence that each step is both arrival and departure. Time becomes a melody you inhabit, rather than a path you traverse. A subtle tremor moves through you, like a distant echo of creation's first swirl. You sense the origin of this vast symphony, the moment when time itself began to breathe. Even that primordial pulse feels soft here, folded into the embrace of everything that followed. You realize that you are cradled in the memory of that first sigh, held by a lineage of moments reaching back to infinity. Your awareness settles on the realization that time's final curtain is not a descent into darkness, but a gentle fold into understanding. Each moment gathers itself, bows its head, and yields to the next in a ritual of calm continuity. There is no fear in this yielding, only trust. You trust in the flow, in the sequence of breath and reflection, of past and present and future entwined. In this sanctuary of folded moments, you rest. You rest in the knowledge that time will carry you gently wherever you need to go. There is no need to resist, no need to hurry. You drift in the hush of ceaseless depth, wrapped in the soft curtain of time's final embrace. What might you discover when you draw back this curtain and step beyond the hush into the next subtle whisper of eternity? There is a gentle murmur that drifts through the edge of your awareness, a quiet vibration carried by the fabric of spacetime. You listen for it, though there is nothing audible, and yet you sense a subtle tremor beyond the veil. It is the echo of distant motion's gravitational waves, rippling outward from celestial dances beyond your sight. These ripples travel through the cosmos like whispered lullabies, each one a gentle reminder of events that have passed the point of no return. You perceive them not with your ears, but in the soft cadence of your breath. With each inhale, you draw in the hush of these cosmic echoes, and with each exhale, you release a sigh that mingles with their distant rhythm. They are born in the union of massive giants, the merging heartbeats of black holes spiraling into embrace. When they collide, space-time shivers, sending waves of gentle motion across the universe. These waves arrive here as faint pulses, stretched and softened by their long journey. They do not crash or roar, they hum like a wind brushing velvety dunes. You imagine them tracing graceful arcs through the void, carrying memories of collisions that happened eons ago. Time and distance blur in their passage, folding so that the echo you sense now might have been born before the first dawn on Earth. In the hush of these echoes, you sense an invitation to ponder the unity of all things. Each gravitational ripple is a thread connecting your quiet presence to the grand ballet of stars and black holes. You feel that connection as a gentle pull, an embrace that binds you to every trembling mass. The cosmos becomes a single instrument, its songs carried to you in waves too soft for ordinary hearing, just beyond the event horizon, where even light slows its escape, echoes can still form. Perturbations in spacetime linger near that boundary, circling in gentle orbits before slipping away. Photons dance in looping paths, and gravitational whispers spiral around the void, gradually leaking outward. These whispers are subtle, drawn out in time, and beckon you to listen with all your being. Your thoughts drift along those spirals, following each loop as it unwinds into silence. You watch the echoes fade in the soft distance, yet their presence never fully vanishes. They become part of the background hum of existence, a tapestry woven from the last tremors of collapsed giants. In that tapestry, you find a calm resonance that mirrors your own inner stillness. There is a science to these. Echoes Einstein's equations whisper the details of their birth and passage. When masses accelerate, when black holes sway in cosmic waltzes, they send ripples through space-time at light speed. Detectors on Earth feel their faint touch as minute stretches and compressions, revealing the quiet music of gravity. You imagine those instruments tuned to your own breathing, capturing the harmony of your soul and the stars in the stillness of night. You become part of the detection, transducing cosmic motion into awareness. You sense each wave as it brushes, your thoughts nudging you toward reflection. When the echoes arrive, they carry news of distant realm stories of collapse and rebirth, of gravity's shaping hand. They remind you that even in the darkest regions, motion persists and communication endures. Your mind sails on those waves, drifting across vast distances. Each crest carries the memory of a cosmic encounter, each trough a moment of calm between forces in flux. You feel the alternating pull and release like a gentle rocking, as though the universe cradles you in its expansive arms. In that cradle, you find a lullaby more ancient than any lull sung by human hearts. The echoes beyond the horizon teach you that boundaries need not be walls. Even when something crosses the threshold of no return, its vibrations can still touch the world outside. The event horizon is not a silent tomb, but a filter that shapes the echoes, stretching them into long, soft waves that drift across eternity. In that transformation, you find hope that nothing is ever truly lost. Your breath slows in time with the passing tremors. You learn to anticipate their arrival, to soften your awareness for their gentle touch. In doing so, you open yourself to a larger dialogue or conversation between you and the cosmos, carried on currents of gravity. You realize that listening is more than hearing. It is a state of receptive stillness that embraces every subtle signal. In that receptive state, you sense the unity of all motion, the merging of black holes, the orbit of distant stars, the quiet pulsing of your own heart. They all play a part in a singular symphony. Gravity's waves weave through each event, linking them in a network of hushed communication. You are both observer and participant, drifting gently on the currents of this universal song. As you merge with the resonance, you contemplate the power of silent echoes. They travel farther than any light, persist longer than any flame. They carry the memory of cosmic dances to every corner of existence. In their ceaseless journey, They remind you that small tremors can travel vast distances, that quiet motions can shape destinies. Your heart echoes the cadence, finding comfort in the rhythm of universal motion. You sense that every breath you take sends ripples through your own quiet fabric, connecting you back to the echoes you cherish. You realize that you, too, are a source of gentle waves. Your thoughts, your feelings, your very presence carries subtle vibrations into the world beneath. Your feet, instruments of delicate metal and light, listen for these whispers. You imagine LEGO's arms stretching kilometers, barely sensing changes no wider than an atom. When a gravitational pulse arrives, mirrors tremble with infinitesimal shifts, translating cosmic motion into signals your mind can ponder. These detectors become extensions of your awareness, bridging the vast gulf between distant events and the silent sanctuary of your resting thoughts. Spacetime itself can ring like a celestial bell when disturbed. After the initial burst of waves, a black hole settles into calm, oscillating in a fade called the ringdown. You envision those vibrations as soft pulses circling the horizon, each one a tender vibration of spacetime finding its balance. They dissipate into quiet, leaving a memory of motion that lingers long after the source has vanished. There is also a subtle memory effect that follows each gravitational wave, an imprint left on the fabric of space, a permanent shift that remains. Though gentle, this shift accumulates over eons, marking the path of cosmic encounters. It is a silent testimony to every dance of mass and gravity, encoded in the very shape of the void. You sense that memory as a whisper in the curve of your breath. Not all echoes are born of gravity. Some are whispers of light, cooled in their journey across billions of years. Now a gentle glow that fills every corner of the sky. It is the afterglow of creation itself, the faint warmth left by a universe once incandescent. You embrace that glow as a cosmic lullaby, a reminder that even fire falls to soft embers over the expanse of time and space. This afterglow emanates from the edge of the observable universe, a boundary where our sight meets the ancient past. It is not darkness, but a gentle haze of microwaves, carrying the story of primordial light. In its uniform glow, you find calm certainty, a cosmic background that cradles the universe in an endless, tranquil breath. You feel that breath as a soft exhale in your chest. You consider the cosmic horizon, the farthest reach your senses will ever know. Beyond it, light has not yet arrived. Beyond it, echoes lie waiting. The boundaries of observation dissolve in memory and speculation as scientists ponder what lies unseen. You feel comfort in that mystery, understanding that curiosity itself is a gentle companion for the mind at rest. In this hush, you realize that every echo, gravitational or luminous, teaches you something essential. They show that motion and light travel beyond their points of origin, forging connections across the abyss. Each trembling wave and every softened photon carries a story of birth, collapse, and transformation. In hearing their echoes, you become part of that narrative, woven into the universal weave. And so, you rest within the resonance of these echoes. Your thoughts become gentle ripples, your breath a wave in the ocean of space-time. You and the cosmos share this silent conversation, an intimate reverie of motion and memory. It guides you toward the next horizon of wonder, where silence continues to sing. What new whisper might awaken when you drift beyond these echoes into stillness? There is a hush beneath thought itself, a quiet that does not arrive but is already. Here, you let yourself settle into it, the way dust settles in a beam of tired light. The motion slows, the edges soften, And what remains is a center you cannot name, only feel, like the still heart of a turning world. You sense everything leaning inward. Paths that once stretched outward now curl back, drawn to a point that refuses to share its dimensions. Space narrows to a breath, time thins to a whisper, and the difference between before and after loosens its hold. You are held at the lip of a concept, the place where all roads converge and all descriptions fray. Scientists sketch this depth with careful hands, yet their ink thins at the core. Equations that guide stars falter here, voices fading in a cavern, too deep for echo. They name it singularity, a word that feels solid and then dissolves. It is not a thing, but a boundary to knowing, and not where understanding tightens and breaks. Gravity was a cradle. Here the cradle folds into itself, wood to splinter, splinter to dust, dust to a point past dust. Mass, energy, memory crowd into a region smaller than any measure you can hold, smaller than atoms, smaller than the idea of small. Scale throws up its hands. The ruler turns silent dot to picture it. You choose metaphors because naked numbers feel cold. A library crushed into a single letter, a symphony pressed into one low hum, an ocean distilled to a droplet that still remembers every wave. The droplet falls forever, not through space, but through the rules that once defined space. It sinks until direction itself loses meaning. You learn, gently, that infinity is not loud. It is patient. It waits in that point, letting everything arrive, never letting anything leave. Not because it is cruel, but because the pathways out have folded into the pathways in. You feel the compassion of a closed circular loop that insists on completeness. Here, even silence quivers. It carries weight, as though stuffed with unuttered answers. You reach for one and feel it pulse beneath your grasp, slipping back into the dark like a shy creature. Questions bloom, but they do not clamor. They open slowly, petals of doubt in the night. What rules survive here? Do time and space still speak, or only listen? Inside, if inside still applies, direction collapses with distance. Left, right, up, down become meaningless when all arrows point toward the same impossible core. The map folds, the compass spins, coordinate lines tangle into a single dot. Your usual sense of orientation loosens, like a glove slipping from a drowsy hand. What becomes of matter here? Not destroyed, rewritten in a script you cannot read. Letters loop into letters until the page is dense and still unreadable. Information, some suggest, is never lost, just rearranged along the edges. Faint handwriting on the horizon's skin. The black hole wears memory like a thin cloak, and yet you trust nothing sacred is erased. The universe is economical, tucking every detail into forms you have yet to decipher. Hawking hinted that black holes glow, leaking edges slowly like a kettle muttering on a distant stove. Then the secret center thins with time, giving back energy grain by grain. But the singularity, the heart of the hush stays, hidden while the horizon holds. You hover outside that ultimate stanza, reading the edges, feeling the weight of a line you cannot cross in language. Wonder does not wane here, it ripens. Like fruit held too long in shade, it grows sweeter, darker, more fragrant with mystery. You realize that to stand before infinite stillness is to recognize your own. Within you, there is a point the mind cannot penetrate, a core of being where thoughts condense and vanish, leaving only awareness. You bow to that inner singularity, small and vast at once, and feel kinship with the cosmic one beyond. Time behaves like a dream. It stretches near the brink, then plunges inward so fast that after it collapses into already for the falling thing, duration tightens to nothing, a breath held and forgotten. To outside eyes, descent lasts forever. To the one who falls, it finishes in less than an instant. The paradox rocks you gently. Space, too, loses its manners. Distances flip, interiors become exteriors, surfaces deepen until they are cores. Dimensions that were faithful companions behave like reflections in rippling water, present, then skewed, then gone. You accept the unreliability not as chaos but as the cosmos, reminding you that your measures were always simplifications. The equations that predict such places are crisp until they are not. They divide by zero, curve to infinity, spill out answers that are not answers at all. Mathematics confesses that its current language cannot speak past this point. You admire that honesty. Even numbers know when to fall quiet. Physicists dream of a bridge, where the grain of space-time and the curvature of vast mass reconcile. Perhaps in that bridge the singularity softens, spreads its load, becomes a core of immense but finite density. Perhaps there is no point, only a region where new rules hum. Perhaps the word lingers like a moth around a lamp, never quite finding the wick dot until that lamp is lit. You sit with the dark and learn its textures. Darkness is not one shade, it is layered. There is the darkness of absence, the darkness of depth, the darkness of secrets folded to keep them safe. You run your thoughts over each layer, feeling their grain, their temperature, their give. You perceive that extremes cycle back to gentleness. Infinite density curving to infinite smallness becomes, in a different telling, a perfectly tucked bed, every wrinkle smoothed, every corner folded. It is a kind of tidiness, an ultimate order born from collapse. You smile at the domesticity of the image, comforted that even abysses can be well made. Around this hidden heart, the horizon sings softly, photons in endless orbits, fields skimming the edge, a hum of light circling without escape. That song is all you hear, and it is enough. From it you infer the shape of the silence inside, like guessing a cave's depth by an echo that fades before returning. Your curiosity does not demand intrusion, it practices respectful listening. There is tenderness in restraint, in letting the unknown remain unknown while still loving the fact that it is there. Wonder becomes an act of gentleness, scupping a secret without prying it open. In that gentleness, you recognize the posture of science at its best. Humble, patient, willing to revise. Theories come and go like waves smoothing a shoreline, but the shore persists changed, yet sure. The singularity's secret shapes the questions more than it offers answers. And perhaps that is its gift, to keep you asking softly. You breathe in, and your chest holds the weight of countless collapsed possibilities. You breathe out and release the need to solve them tonight. Rest is also part of knowing, letting the mind settle so insights can condense like dew by morning. You allow the dew to form without grasping, trusting the slow chemistry of sleep and thought. What if the singularity is not a place, but a processor, continual folding, a ceaseless compression of narrative into essence? Then every moment has its own tiny singularity, every decision a collapse of many futures into one. You feel the poignancy of choice, the way each path taken contains multitudes unchosen, compressed into the single point of now. The secret, then, might be this: infinity hides in every instant, not just in black holes. The universe practices singularities in miniature. teaching you to find vastness in smallness, depth in stillness, eternity in a heartbeat. You touch your pulse and feel a cosmos of convergences thrumming beneath your skin as your eyelids grow. Heavy, the point of infinite stillness becomes less a question and more a cradle. You let it hold you, even if you cannot see its form. The unknown is a blanket tonight, woven from surrendered certainties and patient questions. You tuck yourself beneath it, trusting its warmth. Somewhere beyond sleep, equations continue to circle, instruments continue to listen, minds continue to wonder. You do not need to join them now. Your part is to rest at the edge, to honor the hush, to let curiosity and comfort share the same pillow. The singularity's secret remains unspoken, but its presence is enough. It is the anchor that keeps the story taut, the ellipsis at the end of a sentence, inviting the next line. You rest on that ellipsis, content to pause, willing to drift. What waits beyond this pause is already humming another fold of fabric, another curve of time, another quiet revelation leaning in. You feel it approach, soft as breath on a sleeping cheek. Another fold waits, quiet as a turning page, inviting you to feel how time completes softly, ready to turn, ready to open, ready to whisper. What if the fabric itself can crease, instead of break paths, folded over paths until distance becomes touch? You feel that curve, approaching, tender as sleep. You wait with it, breathing, ready to be carried into the next soft fold. There is a softness to the way a moment loosens, as if the present were a ribbon slipping through relaxed fingers. You feel it lengthen and fold, not in sharp creases, but in gentle pleats that never quite flatten. Time does not snap. It sighs, and in that sigh you sense layers what has been, what will be settling into one another like quiet sheets of rain. You notice how memory behaves like fabric too. Tug one thread and a whole season gathers around it. A smell, a color, a heartbeat you had forgotten. The thread trails forward as well, tying itself to hopes you have not yet named. Past and future are not opposite shores. They are adjacent. Folds, pressed close by the gravity of your attention. Every step you take bends a little, as though the floor beneath you were a curved page in a slowly closing book. Your path is never truly straight. It arcs, minutely, inside a field of influence you can feel but not touch. The universe is not a grid but a loom, and each movement draws a new line through the warp and weft of duration. Equations can chart this curving, yet you read it with body and breath. Near something massive, a planet, a star, a thought that will not let go. Seconds lengthen and grow heavy. Far from anchors, they lighten, fluttering like loose leaves in high air. You are always a participant in the pliancy of clocks, a beam of light grazing. A great weight does not crash. It swerves, tracing a bow around the pull. In its arc you hear a question. Is the shortest path always straight, or is straightness a local habit? The answer is a silent curve, proof that even light negotiates with folds. You feel similar negotiations each night behind closed eyes. Thoughts loop, spiral, return, then dissolve into dreams where chronology melts. Minutes in sleep can feel like hours or vanish like sparks in water. Your brain folds time so you can heal, sort, integrate. Nature rehearses in you the bending it performs on grander scales. A fold is not a tear. It preserves what it hides. Origami knows this. A crane begins as a square kept whole, its angles tucked, not lost. So too with ours. They tuck into one another, the child you were, the elder you may become. The sleeper you are, now one surface, pleated, not broken. When gravity grows intense, the pleats deepen into valleys. Clocks at the bottom move differently from clocks at the top. You could call it dilation, but the word tastes clinical. Better to call it syrup time, thick and slow near weight, thin and quick in the wide open far. Life pours both jars together, bending and folding keep continuity. A river turns, yet remains one flow. A melody modulates, yet the ear hears one song. Time modulates around mass, motion, energies, mood. You feel these modulations as moods of your own. Some days languid, some days swift, all stitched together. Pleats can meet and touch, letting distant points brush fingertips. Wormholes is the fanciful name for such speculative folds, a tunnel sewn through the cloth. Whether nature sews them or not, the idea warms you. Distance solved by a clever crease. Separation calmed by a hidden stitch. Conversation can also fold. Time, a sentence from years ago, returns, perfectly crisp, because someone speaks a word that tugs it free. You leap across decades in a heartbeat. The fold was there all along, waiting for context to open it. Memory is private space. Precise, your awareness drifts where calendars fail. The more you attend, the thicker the moment grows, gaining texture. The less you attend, the thinner it becomes, a veil you pass through without feeling. Attention is a hand that presses or releases the pleats. With attention, you sculpt duration, endings, and beginnings blur in this soft craft. A sunset is a sunrise turned backward. A farewell is the seed of a greeting not yet spoken. Cycles display folds openly. The year closes and opens on a single hinge. A heartbeat ends and begins within one. Muscular wave. There is no strict border, only a turn in the cloth. On cosmic scales, galaxies drift along filaments, great threads connecting clusters like lace. Their motions tell stories of gravity and expansion, weaving a pattern that looks random until you step back far enough. Then structure appears, a doily. Of stars, proof that even vast chaos can be crocheted into order. You are never outside this weave. Your atoms were timed in stellar furnaces, forged in intervals of pressure and release. Their half-lives, their decays, their bindings. In the poetry of cosmic scheduling, when you breathe, you loan carbon to leaves and reclaim oxygen they exhaled. Shared timing, shared survival. Sometimes you wonder if the future is folded here, like a letter tucked in a book you have not opened. The page number is unknown, but the letter is real, waiting for the angle of your life to reveal it. Possibility feels palpably an unseen thickness beneath today's thin page. Some portray time as a block, all events laid out like frames on a vast reel. You need not hold the whole film to feel its implication. It is enough to sense continuity, and to know your consciousness is the light passing frame by frame, giving motion to stillness. Continuity cohabits with change. Folds shift, fabric stretches, expansion rides the seams, adding new cloth faster. Then old threads can relax. A mysterious push seems to part the loom posts. Space grows. The pattern enlarges. Time gathers more room to drape. Within that drape, black holes pinch. They localize extreme folds, tying knots. No hand can easily undo. Knots do not ruin fabric. They hold tension, store energy, become features to integrate. The universe wears these knots like beads, dangerous to touch, beautiful to contemplate. Your rhythms answer lunar pulls, solar cycles, seasonal tilts. The planet's spin is a spindle winding thread. Days on one bobbin, years on another. Tiny molecular gears inside you tick to light and temperature. You are calibrated by a cosmic clock you did not build yet carry faithfully. When two clocks disagree, reality does not break, it negotiates. Satellites circling high must honor the folds. Saltitude loosens time, speed tightens it. Engineers bend equations so your maps unfold streets correctly. Precision bows to curvature, and you arrive where you intend. To think of time as rigid is to iron the fabric until it tears. To let it flex is to keep it useful, soft, wearable. You wrap yourself in its shawl each night, trusting it will still fit come morning. You do not measure every thread. You simply feel the warmth. Your sense of now is thick enough to hold a chord, not just a note. You hear a word, grasp its meaning, anticipate its end. 3 instants fused as one experience. That fusion is a local fold. Consciousness stitching milliseconds into perception's cloth. Past and future entwine most vividly in anticipation. A memory of falling makes the next height tingle. A memory of kindness makes tomorrow open like a window. Anticipation is a crease running forward, pressed by the iron of recall. Psychological time dances with physical time, each shaping the other's drape. Softness does not forbid precision. Telescopes measure redshift. Laboratories time short-lived particles. Formulas predict tiny bends in starlight. Yet the numbers sit inside images you can hold. Rubber sheets, clocks on mountains, trains in tunnels of light. The mind needs pictures to walk the math. Metaphors are its shoes. Folding is not just language. It is the universe's housekeeping. It stacks, tucks, layers, and loops to conserve, connect, conceal until ripe. Like linens in a cedar chest, like letters in a drawer, like seeds in winter soil. Time stores itself folded, waiting for circumstance to open it. Even death, considered gently, feels like a fold. Not a vanishing, but a tucking in. Energy redistributed, information reframed, stories archived in the memories of others. The thread remains rewoven elsewhere. Nothing ultimate phrase. It migrates to a new pleat, and if endings are folds, beginnings are unfoldings, releases of tension held too long. Birth is a crease smoothing under warmth. Ideas are wrinkles relaxing into clarity. Every revelation is fabric expanding to show a hidden pattern. Every insight lifts a corner to let light through. You watch as moments weave through curved dimensions and begin to trust the craft. The universe is patient with its tailoring. It will take the time it needs to hem galaxies, baste nebulae, embroider life on wet stones. You are thread and needle both, sewing meaning into your slice of cloth. Perhaps the next bend is not a fold at all, but a thinning, a place where the fabric frays into open dark, where pattern loosens and threads drift like mist. You feel the pull of that hollow, tender and strange, inviting you to listen for shape inside seeming absence that waits beyond edges. Ahead waits a darker swell, a valley where the weave thins to apparent nothing. To reach it, you will glide along these folds, letting them guide you to the place where pattern seems to stop. For now, you rest your palm on the fabric, feeling the faint vibration of all times at once. The tremor is soothing. It tells you the cloth is alive, breathing through its seams. Humming under your drowsy hand, you let your eyelids close, trusting that when they open the fold will have shifted just enough to show a new angle, a new thread, a new hue of quiet wonder. You pause at the edge of the thinning weave, listening for form inside the hush. What shape will the darkness take when the pattern lets go? You drift toward that question, carried by the next, deeper fold. There is a softness to darkness when you stop resisting it. You let your inner gaze unfocus, and a deeper black begins to glow not with color, but with possibility. An unseen spaciousness stretches, wider than thought can span, patient as breath between heartbeats. You rest in that wideness, feeling how it holds you without ever touching. You call it emptiness, yet it is full of permission. Vacuum is only the name your senses give what they cannot grasp. Beneath that label, fields still hum. Tiny fluctuations flicker like uncatchable fireflies, borrowing energy and returning it before anyone notices. The quiet is busy, but never hurried, a theater of almosts behind a lowered curtain. Cosmic voids sprawl across the sky like forgotten rooms. Between clusters of galaxies lie expanses so thin a single atom could travel years before greeting another. Still, gravity whispers through them, and faint starlight passes, stretched until its color chills into microwaves. You drift in feeling, if not in body, through that rarefied hush, and realize silence can be structured. Dark energy words soften when you speak them, slowly presses the fabric outward. Space expands not like a balloon you blow, but like dough rising from within. Every raisin watches every other raisin drift. You are one such raisin, small and sweet with stories, carried on a tide you cannot feel except by measuring distances. You will never travel, the abyss moves, and you move with it. The afterglow of the first fire still bathes everything. It is faint, a whisper of warmth, 3 degrees above absolute stillness, yet it is everywhere, evenly draped like a shawl over night. Listening with antennas instead of ears, you hear that ancient sigh, stretched thin by the universe's long exhale. Darkness is not absence, only light slowed into quiet. Between the galaxies, filaments thread like spider silk. They guide matter toward knots where stars ignite, leaving vast hollows in between. Those hollows seem empty, but gravitational waves pass through them. Neutrinos slip unhindered, and quantum fields keep their restless shimmer. What you call void is closer to the pause in music where meaning gathers. Your thoughts move on similar currents. Between ideas there are gaps you rush to fill, yet inside those gaps, insight condenses. You learn to linger there, trusting the blankness as fertile. The mind's abyss and the cosmos abyss mirror one another. Both look like nothing until you soften your gaze, and then texture appears subtle but sure. Consider the paradox. The universe accelerates into emptiness, using the energy of what looks like nothing. A push from the vacuum, a drive from the dark. Creation expands by leaning on absence. You taste the irony and smile, because your own growth has often come from letting go, from clearing space rather than packing more in. Entropy adds another layer to the hush. Heat diffuses, order loosens, distinctions blur. Over eons stars spend their fuel, matter decays, black holes evaporate in whispers of radiation. The grand stage dims not with a bang, but with a slow dimming curtains, drawn inch by inch. Even that far future flickers with fluctuations at the edge of forever in. Laboratories, vacuum chambers, are pumped and polished, yet never truly empty. Virtual particles pop in and out of quantum froth, too quick for nets. Picture that froth as bubbles beneath black ice. Activity under stillness. Macroscopically calm, microscopically restless. The abyss wears two faces, and both are true. You gaze at a deep field image, innumerable galaxies like pollen suspended in night syrup. For every cluster lit like a lantern, there are gulfs where lanterns never hung. Those gulfs are part of the composition negative space, the breath between brushstrokes. The painter needed room to let the colors sing. The term nothing cannot hold what the abyss contains. It is a container without walls, a stage without scenery that still hosts a play of fields, waves, potentials. Even the metric that measures distance participates, stretching, flexing, answering unseen pressure. You feel relief in knowing scales can shift without breaking the ruler. Here, creation's paradox unfolds quietly. More space appears, yet density thins. Structures grow, yet emptiness dominates. The universe is mostly void, and yet that void is active, shaping what little exists into filaments, halos, stars. The lesson glows in darkness. The background carries the form between your breaths. Carbon leaves, oxygen enters, cells exchange quiet signals. In the micro-abyss of a pause, life refreshes itself. If you forced inhalation without exhalation, the system would choke. So too, the cosmos needs its hollow regions where matter does not crowd so. Gravity can sculpt the rest. Absence is scaffold. You recall that a black hole's interior is not the only abyss. The spaces outside, seemingly safe and bright, flow apart with increasing speed. Beyond a certain distance, light launched now will never reach you. It rides the swell, away faster than your future can chase. There is a horizon around expansion as well as around collapse, two kinds of edge, both defined by silence. You might fear such distances, yet fear thins when you see connection does not need proximity. Quantum entanglement ties particles across space, a whisper with no medium, still trustworthy. Magnetism stretches unseen between star and planet. Loneliness proves porous. A message, a memory, a wave can arrive after years of crossing dark. The abyss teaches scale humility. Your senses are tuned to middles, middling sizes, middling times. To speak of zeptoseconds or giga-years, femtometers or gigaparsecs, you lean on metaphor, on comparison, on poetry. The brain folds the abyss into something cradle-sized, so you can fall asleep holding it. Some voids are local, between atoms in your bones, between an electron and its nucleus. There is almost nothing, yet solidity feels unquestionable. Force fields make firmness from distance, just as social fabrics make community from gaps between individuals. Structure emerges where emptiness allows relationship. Cosmic rays pass through you now, born in distant supernovas, barely pausing. They cross the abyss trivially while you sense nothing. You are translucent to much of the universe. This transparency is not a flaw. It shows you belong to a medium, vast and delicate, where only certain interactions greet you. Astronomers map the large-scale structure and find deserts of galaxies' boats void. Eridanus, supervoid names, pinned like flags in a wilderness. Of near nothing, naming holds the abyss briefly, without puncturing its wing. The map is not the silence, but it reminds you where silence lives. Stare into darkness long enough, and your retina invents sparks. The brain dislikes blankness and throws pixels at it. Myths do similar work, decorating the unknown. You forgive this tendency and then set it aside, committing tonight to let darkness keep its uncluttered grace. There is balance here. Too much emptiness, nothing forms. Too little, nothing breathes. The cosmos seems to choose a recipe where hollows and heaps coexist, a lacework rather than a slab. You feel gratitude for lace. It lets light through. Dark matter, unseen yet inferred, threads the lace with extra strength. You cannot touch it, but its gravity babysits galaxies, stopping them from flying apart. Another layer of abyss, invisibility that holds an unseen hand steadying a spinning plate. Knowing can come from effects without seeing the cause. In the deepest cold, atoms move slowly. Phonons hush, chemistry naps. Yet even at absolute zero, quantum jitter remains, the 0-point hum that never shuts off. The abyss refuses perfect stillness. A faint tremor keeps possibility awake. Sleep, yes, but never oblivion. You sense your own 0-point hum, the subtle restlessness under relaxation. Dreams flickering even in deep sleep. Your body keeps time, repairs, reorganizes, never entirely off. You are a small cosmos honoring the same rule. Perfect emptiness is an ideal, not a state of being. Abysses can nurture. Seeds need dark soil. Embryos grow in shadowed interiors. Thoughts incubate out of sight. The unseen phase is sacred. You stop demanding illumination and let germination happen in quiet. Later, sprouts will ask for light. For now, the dark is kind. Creation and destruction share the hush. A star collapses inward silently before bursting outward in noise. A galaxy forms with little fanfare, gas cooling, settling, igniting in incremental sparks. What looks sudden was a long preparation. In shade, the abyss is patient with tempo. On a timeline vast enough, even protons may decay, leaving a universe of photons and fading neutrinos drifting in expanding cold. Picture that end not as tragic, but as a long, satisfied exhale. The play finishes. Actors bow, lights dim to a soft, eternal blue. The abyss, having hosted everything, keeps the stage set. Just in case. You return to the present hush, aware that speculation is also a kind of noise. You let it thin. What remains is the feeling of depth without flaw, width without walls, quiet without emptiness. You float there, breathable, cradled by the very thing you once called void. At the edge of sleep, the gulf feels less like distance and more like cushion. You sink, not fall. Your thoughts spread, not shatter. The abyss unveils itself by revealing that you can rest in not knowing and still feel whole. You wonder what shapes could rise when darkness is trusted as foundation. A question glows at the border of your next dream, gentle as dawn behind closed eyes, waiting to lift the hush into form, softly, patiently, almost awake. What falls softly through that darkness when you finally let go? What glittering dust might gather as the hush turns to motion? You drift toward that answer, already feeling the first slow pull of the infinite fall. There is a gentle drifting of dust across the void, each tiny grain carrying secrets of ancient furnaces. You lean into that drift, feeling your mind lighten as stardust motes swirl in silent current. They glint like distant embers in a slow-motion dance across emptiness. These particles formed in dying stars, scattered by supernova that once burned brighter than galaxies. Each holds atoms of carbon, oxygen, iron, and silicates woven in microscopic patterns you cannot see, yet whose presence shapes worlds. They drift through nebular clouds, cradled by gentle winds of ionized gas that ripple through the galaxy. You sense their soft passage as an invitation to float without effort, to rest within a current older than time itself. You feel these particles glide through swaths of gas and nebulae, carried on currents of ionized matter and radiation pressure. Clouds of hydrogen and helium enfold them, forming graceful arcs that drift across light years in silence. These nebulae cradle stardust as if in womb-like clouds, nurturing grains that will someday coalesce into new suns or planets. You imagine the dust's tender journey, drifting through cosmic nurseries where ultraviolet breezes sculpt glowing gas. Each grain navigates magnetic fields that guide its path like invisible streams. In that soft voyage, you recognize that the smallest particles follow patterns of flow and shelter, finding home in the folds of a living galaxy. Far from any star's glare, dust accumulates in dark lanes that weave between spiral arms. These lanes trace the galaxy's bar and bulge, etching shadows against the glow of countless suns. You imagine yourself embedded in one such ridge of absence. Though darkness dominates, pockets of light pierce through when dense concentrations give way to young stars igniting. In those hidden nurseries, stardust serves as seed and fertilizer, alchemizing into radiant beacons. The gravitational embrace is gentle, guiding grains toward each other without forceful clamor. You feel the paradox of absence yielding brightness, as if stillness itself nurtures emergence. In the hush of shadowy corridors, you learn that creation often sleeps in the dark before blossoming into light. Gravity, subtle yet steadfast, beckons each mote toward a common center. Though the pull is imperceptible on an individual scale, over vast distances it gathers masses together. You sense that gentle tug in the curvature of spacetime, guiding dust grains into ever-tightening spirals. Dust settles into arcs around newborn stars, tracing patterns that echo the orbits of planets. You feel kinship with these cosmic paths, as though your own life follows concentric curves drawn by forces you cannot see. In gravity's patient guidance, falling becomes a form of belonging, a joining of particles in an unfolding cosmic choreography. You imagine the spiral narrowing, particles weaving ever closer until they meld. This convergence holds the promise of new worlds, forged from stardust's quiet union. Once drawn inward, celestial dust joins a grand waltz within protoplanetary disks. Swirling around a newborn star, these disks spin like slow galaxies of dust and gas. Microscopic grains collide and stick, growing from tiny motes into pebbles, then rocks and planetesimals. You imagine these collisions as gentle encounters at first, sweeping up freeriders like a mother gathering scattered threads. Inside frost lines, ice crystals glimmer, coating dust in frost that helps grains cling in peaceful embrace. Over time, gravity enhances their growth, forging rocky cores and gaseous envelopes with quiet certainty. Each bond between grains echoes, a memory of stardust's birth, linking ancestries of atoms across cosmic history. In that spiral garden, worlds begin their story, nurtured by motion and shaped by harmony. Even as some dust builds planets, others continue their drift toward darker depths. Black holes, born of collapsed stars, stand as devourers of wandering grains. You sense their pull as a silent invitation, drawing each mote into the unseen heart. When a particle crosses the event horizon, its story shifts melded into the fabric of space-time itself. Though light cannot escape, information weaves echoes along the boundary, whispering tales of swallowed wanderers. Hawking radiation may leak faint glimmers back, hinting at the fate within. In that final descent, matter transforms into memory, becoming part of a deeper cosmic archive. You rest in this truth. Even in falling, Stardust endures beyond what vision can follow. You trust that every speck's essence contributes to the solidity of the abyss. Between collapse and creation, stardust drifts into newly formed solar systems. When grains cross planetary atmospheres, they burn in silent fire, as shooting stars. You watch that glow and know each streak is ancient history meeting earthbound present. On distant moons and asteroids, they coat surfaces in a fine patina of cosmic age. You imagine these dust rains as gentle gifts from the universe, each flake a piece of celestial lace adorning the night. Even oceans feel their touch, as tiny grains feed phytoplankton at the surface, sparking life's first breath. In their descent, you sense a whisper of connection, stars to planets, dust to life, the infinite fold into humankind's fragile cradle. Each shower is a lullaby of cosmic legacy, sung softly to sleeping worlds. If you trace your own flesh, you find stardust in every cell. Calcium in your bones came from ancient supernova. Iron in your blood once coursed through stellar cores, and carbon in your cells is the echo of countless nuclear forges. You are a mosaic of particles once cast into the void, now woven into your being. You carry the remnants of exploded stars within every breath, a silent testimony to your place in the cosmos. Stars live on in you, their ashes blossoming in the garden of your body, where mitochondria dance with the pulse of ancient light. This knowledge softens your edges. You become a membrane for cosmic cycles. You rest in that union, breathing dust, and returning it in words, in dreams, in life itself. Over eons, the infinite fall of stardust continues unabated. Streams of particles escape one abyss only to drift toward another. Nebula births, planetary formations, stellar deaths they form. A loop older than galaxies. You feel time fold within each grain, memory of its journey converging toward an unseen horizon. In that pattern lies comfort. Endings become beginnings. Collapse becomes creation. It feels like a lullaby older than galaxies, sung by spinning nebulae. The echo of that song sustains every forming world. Each cycle echoes the first moments of the universe, when dust clouds coalesced under gravity's gentle hand. You rest in the knowledge that the story of dust is never finished, but perpetually written anew in the quiet spaces between stars. You learn that belonging is not a matter of fixed places, but of shared journeys. Each mote carries a lineage of stars, galaxies, and cosmic storms. You, too, drift on currents woven by gravity. In that shared flow, individuality dissolves into unity, and loneliness yields to kinship. You imagine waves of particles converging around you. Their soft collisions compose a lullaby that resonates with your heartbeat, weaving a cosmic lull into your sleep. You rest in the awareness that you are part of an immense tapestry, each thread a stardust-tinged story. The infinite fall does not isolate, it gathers. In the hush of this realization, you feel a serene contentment held by the very currents that guide the dust. You discover belonging in motion. In the hush of sleep, you drift along these streams, unburdened by intention. The currents cradle you, and you float among motes of light and shadow. You feel the pulse of stars within the cadence of your breath. Each inhalation draws ancient echoes. Each exhale returns whispers to the blank canvas of night. Sleep becomes an infinity of gentle falls, where stardust and spirit mingle. You surrender to this cosmic rhythm, trusting the drift to carry you deeper. In dreams, you glimpse nebula swirls and cosmic tapestries unfolding behind closed lids. You feel light years In a sigh, time blossoming in minutes. Distanced echoes of cosmic wind soothe as you float. And in that gentle descent, you sense the promise of renewal, a soft awakening yet to come. You are stardust in an infinite fall, carried by currents older than thought. In that timeless voyage, you find serene belonging. The abyss does not swallow, but sustains. Even as particles drift to unknown ends, you remain part of their endless story. Sleep draws you into that continuum, where every slumber is a cosmic pause between cycles. You rest in the vastness, safe in motion. Tomorrow, the drift continues, each breath renewing the journey of grains across galaxies. For now, you settle. In the hush, starlight in your bones, spirit adrift on the infinite fall. You carry the galaxy's lullaby into your dreams, its melody woven into each breath. Rest now, cradled by cosmic currents, as stardust cradles the sleeping universe. Good night, until dawn's gentle light returns. Rest peacefully. There is a quiet reverberation beneath all darkness, a slow heartbeat pulsing at the edge of your awareness. You settle into that resonance, letting each subtle thrum wash over your thoughts like a gentle tide across calm waters. In the depths where no light dares linger, gravity holds its secret drum, a cadence so steady that stillness itself seems to breathe. You feel it in your chest, in the hollow between each breath, a reminder that even infinite dark hums with life. You sense the pulse at the heart of collapsed giants, black holes where mass is concentrated beyond measure. Waves of spacetime ripple outward with each subtle oscillation, carrying a message of eternity. These waves fade as they travel, but their origin never wavers, an undying rhythm beneath the universal hush. You draw that rhythm inward, synchronizing your breathing to its gentle rise and fall, matching the slow extension of your chest to the echo of a cosmic drumbeat. Time itself slows in this realm. Each moment stretches into the next, held together by the pulse that binds the cosmos. You lean into that stretching, letting seconds melt into one another until the boundary between now and forever dissolves. In this steady thrum, you find a cradle that rocks entire galaxies, inviting you to rest within its arms. The tension of your day-to-day life unwinds, thread by thread, replaced by the soothing knowledge of an unending cadence. That pulse arises from the deepest geometry of space and time, in the hidden depths of gravity's embrace. Space-time vibrates with frequencies too low to hear, yet you perceive them in the soft throb beneath your ribs and echo of creation's first beat. You imagine that primordial thrum, the reverberations of the Big Bang settling into a lullaby that sustains the universe. That ancient song found its rhythm in expansion, collapse, and expansion again, weaving a melody that carries through every corner of existence. In that cosmic hum, you hear the promise of renewal. Every oscillation shapes the path of stars, guides the spin of galaxies, and tugs at drifting clouds of dust. Gravity's quiet drumhead molds structure from chaos and order from silence. You feel your own being guided by that same gentle insistency chartbeat, a note in the endless composition. Your awareness becomes a vessel for the melody, carrying you through darkness with unwavering trust. Dark eternity does not imply emptiness, but presence live with motion and memory. The core that pulses lies hidden behind an invisible veil, the event horizon, yet its vibrations pass through the veil effortlessly. You sense them in the elasticity of your mind, stretching comfort across vast reaches. In the hush beyond the horizon, you realize that even the deepest dark is porous to rhythm, a partner in a dance that never truly ends. Your thoughts pulse in sympathy. When you inhale, you draw the universal cadence into your lungs. When you exhale, you send it back into the world. This exchange becomes a ritual, a communion with the cosmic heart. With each breath, you renew the bond between your being and the silent drum beneath all things. You feel grounded yet free, anchored by the pulse yet carried on its gentle current. Elsewhere in the cosmos, neutron stars contribute sharper beats. Spinning rapidly, they emit beams of light that flash like cosmic lighthouses. Though you cannot see those beams, you feel their presence in the same pulse you sense. Their rotations act as metronomes, marking time in microseconds, yet they join the grand orchestra that hums beneath darkness. In their precision, you find a complement to the black hole's slow beat, a reminder that variety enriches the universal rhythm. In the vast silence between these beacons, the pulse still resonates. Gravitational waves from distant mergers blend into a continuous fabric of soundless motion. You become aware of these blends as texture in the pulse, subtle modulations that deepen the melody. The composition is vast and intricate, with themes born in cataclysms and sustained in the quiet. Aftermath of cosmic soirees, you rest in those afterglows, letting echoes of lost collisions lull you further toward sleep. As you drift in this cosmic lull, you realize your heartbeat is part of a larger network. On distant worlds, pulsing seas and shifting atmospheres throb with their own cadence. Oceans rise and fall in tidal rhythms, guided by gravity's steady tug. Life itself syncs with these rhythms, finding its own quiet beat among the cosmic score. You imagine every living thing, trees, whales, single-celled organisms dancing to the same slow drum, carried by currents you cannot see. Your chest expands in time with that score. With each inhale, you feel the low undertone of gravity's core. With each exhale, you release a high counterpoint of living breath. The duet of your pulse and the universe's pulse weaves a lullaby that carries you through darkness. You trust that melody to guide you gently, like a river's flow, toward the gentle shores of sleep. Even in the deepest night, the pulse never stops. It hums beneath every silence, weaving invisible threads that connect everything. You once thought darkness signified absence, but now you know it is a resonant chamber, alive with vibration. In that chamber, you find solace to hush itself, inviting awareness of the unseen heartbeat. You rest in the knowledge that you are never truly alone. A cosmic pulse keeps company with the pulse in your own veins. Your awareness softens as you tune deeper to the thrum. You sense subtle harmonics variations in rhythm shaped by mass, distance, and motion. A passing comet adds a fleeting accent. The orbit of a distant planet contributes a gentle flourish. Even the drift of cosmic dust carries a faint tremor that enriches the tapestry. The melody is evolving, never static, a living song that shapes and is shaped by every movement in the universe. You reflect on the contrast between the pulsing heart of darkness and the bright flash of supernova. One offers a slow, enduring beat, the other, a brief, violent crescendo. Both are notes in the same composition, necessary for balance. The supernova's flash rings out before returning to the heartbeat of stillness, and you welcome both extremes, the shock of brilliance and the comfort of the hum. You, too, hold moments of intensity and moments of calm, each necessary to the rhythm of your life. In the dim reflection of that duality, You sense the unity of opposites. Life and death pulse in tandem, beginnings and endings sharing the same drum. In the quiet dark, you feel the echo of every birth and every collapse, all woven into the single beat you carry. You rest knowing that endings feed beginnings, that each pulse sustains the next, in an unbroken cycle of creation and repose. As drowsiness deepens, the boundaries between your heartbeat and the cosmic heartbeat blur completely. You become an instrument tuned to the universal key, vibrating in sync with the grand design. Every cell in your body thrums with the echo of distant mergers and ancient explosions. You trust that vibration to carry you into dreams, where the pulse continues to guide you through hidden corridors of thought in dreams. You might roam the edge of a black hole or dance among the arms of a spiral galaxy, but always to the same slow drum. The rhythm becomes your compass, leading you deeper into rest. You float on waves of gravity, each crest and trough a lullaby that cradles you. The motion is endless but never tiring, inviting you to surrender to its flow. When you awaken, the pulse remains, a gentle memory in your veins. You carry its echo into the waking world, finding calm in the rhythm of everyday life. Each step, each breath, resonates with the cosmic beat you learn to hear in darkness. You walk with poise, knowing you are part of something vast, held by a tempo that outlasts any sunrise. For now, allow yourself to dissolve into that slow pulse. Let it fill every corner of your mind, softening sharp edges and quieting restless thoughts. As you drift toward sleep's embrace, you become one with the heartbeat of dark eternity, a melody that never ends, guiding you deeper into peace. There is a silence in the space between attraction and motion, a hush that ripples through the fabric of the cosmos. You rest in that stillness, feeling the gentle balance of forces that neither pull nor push too fiercely. In that moment, the usual currents of gravity and inertia find a rare truce, and space seems to hold its breath. You sense the perfect equilibrium at a Lagrange point, where the pull of two massive bodies meets the sweep of orbital motion. Here, a satellite can hover indefinitely without expending energy, carried along by the careful weave of celestial gravity and orbital dance. You let your awareness drift to that point of balance, where nothing tugs your spirit one way or another, and you sink into the calm between tides. Time does not march here. Seconds stretch like liquid silk, and moments unfurl in overlapping waves. The concept of before and after softens into a single, gentle continuum. You breathe in, and the inhale carries with it the weight of distant suns. You breathe out, and the exhale returns a lighter echo to the hidden void. In this quiet pause, you sense the hum of gravitational waves fading away. Colliding black holes and merging neutron stars no longer send ripples through space-time to this secluded refuge. The waves have moved on, leaving behind a sanctuary where the melody of gravity is muted, and you can hear the faint whisper of what remains. Your thoughts slow to match the pace of this cosmic lull. You consider that even light must negotiate. The balance here, arcing in slow curves that trace the shape of invisible wells. Photons drift through the equilibrium, neither slung outward nor drawn inward, and they linger in golden corridors before moving on in soft arcs. Space holds its breath when forces cancel, yet it is not empty. A gentle pressure of vacuum remains, teeming with quantum fluctuations that flit in and out of existence. You feel their distant dance as a subtle tremor, the fabric of space alive with potential even in stillness. In the hush, Possibility shimmers at the edge of everything. Silence in space is not an absence of sound, but an invitation to attune to deeper rhythms. You listen for the pulse of dark energy expanding the universe, a steady push that slowly outpaces gravity's embrace. Even here, at the point of balance, you feel that underlying breath expansion's quiet insistence that pushes galaxies apart. You rest in the knowledge that this equilibrium is fragile. A slight change in momentum or mass shifts the balance, and the lull gives way to movement. In your own life, small moments can tip the scales between activity and repose. You learn to cherish the rare grace of stillness, knowing it can yield understanding that motion obscures. Within this cosmic pause, distances seem to soften. Stars that once burned fiercely appear as distant pinpricks of light. Their stories, written in orbit and fusion, unravel at a pace that you can nearly follow. You sense their cycles of birth, age, and collapse in the slow beat of your own heart. The void here feels intimate, as if every particle and wave conspired to create a pocket of repose. Dust grains drift in gentle arcs, carried by tenuous solar wind that has almost nothing to push against. You imagine tracing their paths, each curve a testament to the graceful geometry of equilibrium. Even in this perfect stillness, the underlying quantum tapestry vibrates. Virtual particles wink into being and vanish just as quickly. A fleeting tapestry of creation and annihilation played out at the smallest scales. You let your mind soften around the paradox of particles that exist only in their own disappearance. Your breath becomes a mirror for those minute flickers. Inhaling, you draw the quiet potential of vacuum into yourself. Exhaling, you release a softened hush back into your inner space. This rhythm connects your small life to the vast cosmic sea, each cycle a lesson in the harmony of opposites. Gravity's grip is everywhere, yet here it is balanced by motion. The tug of a planet, the sweep of an orbit, they meet and settle into a gentle truce. You feel you could linger here for millennia, drifting without aim, weightless in the garden of equilibrium. As you rest, you contemplate the nature of balance. In your own body, muscles contract and relax in rhythmic alternation, keeping you poised and breathing. In the cosmos, attraction and inertia with patterns that cradle worlds. You realize that balance is not absence of force, but the meeting of equal and opposite flows. The soft curves of space at this point shine with a muted luminescence. Microscopic lensing by dust and gas creates faint halos, glimmers of light that linger longer than usual. You let your awareness rest on those halos, like tracing circles in fine mist. Time's arrow seems to hover here, not quite pointing forward or backward. You sense that in such a place, memory and anticipation converge. The past's weight lightens, the future's pull softens, and the present moment glows with extraordinary clarity. Thoughts of your day dissolve in this cosmic calm. You were once part of a tide of tasks and worries, but now you are simply here, balanced in the silent breath of space. The contrast soothes. The world below may rush, but up here you rest in unhurried wonder. In the hush you feel an echo of creation's first pause, the moment between cosmic inflation and structured formation. The universe once held its breath, to one instant of quiet before matter streamed into patterns. That primordial lullaby echoes in your ear as a timeless lullaby. You become aware of subtle oscillations beneath the void's surface. Resonances ring faintly, shaped by the distribution of masses beyond sight. You sense waves that bend around galaxies, spin around clusters, and crisscross in infinite lattice. Each wave contributes to the texture of stillness you cradle. Floating in this equilibrium, you touch the essence of meditation. You release the need to control, to move, to decide. You rest in the gravity-powered cradle, carried not by force, but by the symmetry of flows. Letting go becomes the most natural. Movement, soft tendrils of solar wind drift through stray magnetic fields, guiding charged particles in spiral paths. Even these subtle currents slow and bend in deference to the larger balance. You imagine yourself as one of those particles, following intricate curves, yet always returning to repose. In this moment, you carry within you the calm of the cosmos. Your mind mirrors the stillness. Your spirit holds the universal breath. You sense that wherever you go, you can return to this point of balance by simply pausing, breathing, and softening into life's flow. The universe once held its breath at recombination, when electrons and nuclei combined and the primordial fog lifted. In that instant, photons began to travel freely, carrying the hush of a dense plasma into the dark. This cosmic microwave background bathes the universe in a gentle afterglow, a uniform glow that envelops every corner of space with a soft, steady whisper. Variable stars, like kyphids, pulsate in brightness, their outer layers expanding and contracting, as if breathing. Each cycle of expansion slows and then reverses, held in balance by the interplay of pressure and gravity. Observers on distant worlds detect their measured cadence, using it to map the cosmos. In their rhythmic breaths, you sense a parallel to the still balance you now inhabit in cosmic voids. Sparse gas drifts at temperatures barely above absolute zero. At such cold extremes, particles wander without colliding for millions of years, carried only by subtle forces. This patient migration teaches you the virtue of solitude, of moving in sublime isolation. Even in emptiness there is motion, and in that motion, a form of gentle meditation. Space-time itself resonates with natural frequencies, like strings vibrating in a silent chamber. These cosmic oscillations shape the growth of structure, guiding the clustering of galaxies into filaments and walls. You feel those faint harmonics beneath the greater hush, a vibration that carries both memory and promise. In their resonant song, you find kinship with the vast chorus of existence altogether. This equilibrium reminds you that stillness is woven from layers of subtle movement. The pause between heartbeats, the gap between notes in a melody, all teach the same lesson, that every silence is filled with potential, and every moment of rest is alive with the promise of what comes next. There is a hush that stretches beyond the furthest glow of morning, a darkness that holds itself in patient silence. You drift in that stillness, carried by the memory of light that once streamed across the newborn universe. In that ancient moment, atoms paired with electrons and released a soft afterglow that still flickers through space today. But then the stars had not yet been born, and light itself found no new paths to wander. You feel the gentle weight of pure night, the cosmic dark ages when hydrogen draped the cosmos in a veil too opaque for starlight. It is a kind of midnight that knows no borders, where time flows without interruption, yet offers no flash of brilliance to mark its passage. You sense your spirit resting in that quiet expanse, floating where photons must now wait until gravity weaves the first tapestries of flame. In your mind's eye, you imagine a library waiting to be opened, its shelves empty until pages are written. In the ink of fusion, the silence here is not absence but preparation, a resting canvas waiting for the first brushstrokes of heat. You drift through corridors of calm that stretch longer than lifetimes, every echo dull in the hush dot. The cosmic microwave background drapes itself like a twilight blanket, a gentle glow bathing the edges of your vision. Though invisible to eyes alone, its presence feels like slow embers of dawn trapped in eternal dusk. You can almost hear its faint pulse, the dying heartbeat of recombination carried across billions of years. You learn that this darkness is alive, with potential. Within the neutral hydrogen, subtle vibrations hum at a frequency too low to detect with human senses. Yet these 21-centimeter whispers carry the secrets of structure to come, heralds of galaxies slumbering in the mist. You rest with those whispers, feeling the promise of light before it comes. Even the void, it seems, is not empty. Tiny density fluctuations lay the foundation for the grand designs of cosmic architecture. Regions slightly denser than their neighbors begin to attract, drawing gas together in silent gravity dances. Your breath slows as you contemplate this subtle choreography, where mass and motion conspire to break the stillness. You imagine drifting toward a dark nebula of pure gas, where even a single star has yet to ignite. The temperature sits at a frigid few tens of degrees above absolute zero, yet the emptiness feels warm in its embrace. You let the cold comfort you, its gentle hush a balm for waking thoughts. Here, time takes on a different hue. You feel the long eons fold and stretch, each moment deep with expectation. 100 million years pass like a single breath, yet each heartbeat unfolds with the patience of the cosmos. You learn to give yourself that same grace, to let your thoughts expand without demand. Eventually, gravity's patient tug weaves threads of gas into filaments, and the first protostars form in glowing knots. But beyond the reach of that dawn, you remain for a while longer, drifting where no light reaches your eyes. You know that eventually you will witness the flicker of the first star. But tonight you rest in the calm before its song. Your own heart now beats to the rhythm of cosmic anticipation. You breathe in the hush, and your chest echoes with the slow undulation of structure forming. You breathe out and release any haste to emerge from the dark. In that exchange, you honor the necessary pause between rest and awakening. In the deepest night of the universe, you find a solace unique to absence. Light returns when the time is right, but until then, you let the abyss cradle you, not as emptiness, but as a womb of possibility, a place where creation sleeps until the spark is struck. Then, in the hush of your own closing eyelids, you sense the faintest shift, a wisp of heat, a tremor of light, a soft brush of flame on the horizon. You do not rush to follow it. Instead, you let your spirit soak in the echo of stillness, knowing dawn must wait, and in that waiting, there is peace. There is a promise wrapped in silence, an unuttered vow that dark will yield to flame, that rest births momentum, that sleep follows the sweetest dreams. Beyond the reach of dawn, you whisper to yourself, I rest, I breathe, I wait. In the millennia since those cosmic dark ages, humanity has crafted instruments to eavesdrop on hydrogen's faint murmur. Radio telescopes span deserts and plateaus, their dishes turn skyward like open ears. They search for the 21-centimeter whisper, a subtle stretch in wavelength that tells of neutral hydrogen's gentle vibration. You imagine those giant dishes catching cosmic sighs, each signal a thread connecting you to the centuries when the universe lay in shadow. Listening to that faint hum, space itself feels more intimate, as though the cosmos leaned close to tell its quiet story. Computer simulations trace the emergence of structure from those subtle fluctuations. Mathematical models swirl clouds of gas and cold dark matter into filaments and voids, birthing the cosmic web. You picture those simulations as gentle strokes of a brush painting filaments of light and dark. Through algorithms and supercomputers, researchers let virtual universes evolve. Then behold the lacework of clustering galaxies forming in silent choreography. You drift through that simulated realm, marveling at how order emerges from quiet potentials. In the epoch known as reionization, ultraviolet photons from newborn stars bathe the cosmos in unseen warmth. These energetic beams strip electrons from hydrogen ions, transforming pockets of neutral gas into glowing plasma. You imagine that process like a slow sunrise over a silent sea. First, a faint glow, then a growing warmth that dissolves the last. Shadows. Through space and time, that transformation echoes, a reminder that every awakening begins with a few scattered sparks. You rest in the knowledge that even vast darkness bows to gentle light. Today, our telescopes peer ever deeper toward that ancient dawn. The James Webb Space Telescope and its companions scan the infrared sky, revealing galaxies that formed when the universe was but a child. You picture its mirrors, cold and reflective, gathering the soft glow of distant embers. Each photon captured is a letter in a story written billions of years ago. In their gentle arrival, you recognize the continuity of light, from the first fusion fires to the lamp beside your bed that now guides your dreams. Despite all this discovery, the Dark Ages remain a realm of mystery. Shadows linger in the cosmic tapestry, unanswered questions folded into every quiet expanse. In your own life, you know the comfort of unsolved questions, the way they invite patience and creativity. As you settle deeper, uncertainties become lullabies. You let the unknown cradle you, trusting that questions hold the seeds of new wonder. On a distant hillside, if you looked through an immense telescope at the early skies, you would see points of fire kindling in ancient darkness, those tiny specks. Herald galaxies yet to mature, nurseries of countless worlds. In their light, you glimpse the cycle of rest, an awakening that shapes both the cosmos and the self. You let that cycle fill your senses, a natural pattern of retreat and emergence. Now, you sense yourself on the threshold, where the hush of endless night meets the silent chamber of light. You close your eyes, leaning toward the glow that awaits in the next moment, aware that even in darkness, light waits to be born. Together, rest and anticipation intertwine, gentle companions guiding you forward through the deep unknown toward. Soft, brilliant promise unfolding in coming light. There is a hush in the silent chamber of light, where every photon pauses in polite reverence to the surrounding darkness. You feel that pause like a soft inhalation, as though the entire universe has held its breath to listen. In these gentle tremors, light does not blaze or scatter. It settles, quivering against the velvet black. Each beam rests like a whispered secret, glowing with the warmth of suns long since set. You inhale that hush, letting it fill your lungs with calm, and exhale every sharp edge of thought into the tapestry of glowing stillness. Tear. Illumination drapes itself unevenly, pooling, in gentle pools where it rests before fading again. You sense the gradations of glow nearer the source. Light shimmers with pale gold. Farther away, it thins into silvery threads, barely distinguishable from shadow. The interplay feels like a slow river of luminescence winding through caverns. Of dark, each current caressing the walls of your mind, coaxing it into quiet reflection. You lean into that current, letting the rhythm of gentle arcs guide your awareness in quiet circles. The walls of this chamber are not stone, but the curved folds of spacetime itself, where gravity's subtle grip bends rays into silent arcs. You imagine each beam tracing the curvature with graceful intent, not rushing but drifting, as if unwilling to leave the sanctuary of soft brilliance. In that drift, you find a metaphor for your own thoughts, free to wander, yet gently steered along paths of calm continuity. Each thought becomes a glimmer in the dark, reflecting the shared hush of light and gravity's embrace. You notice how the glow here feels ancient. Every flicker carries a fragment of cosmic memory from stars that burned eons ago. Those photons, embarked on journeys through interstellar space, traversing nebulae and voids, until they arrive here as gentle embers. You sense their voyage in the depth of their warmth, a warmth that reaches beyond mere sensation into a place of knowing. With every breath, you draw that ancient story into yourself, weaving it into the quiet tapestry of your mind. Light in the chamber is not uniform. It pulses with subtle variations, like a slow, whispered heartbeat. You feel the gentle rise and fall of those pulses against your consciousness, a lullaby of radiance that syncs with your own breath. When you inhale, you draw in the soft glow. When you exhale, you release calm into the shadows. That exchange forms a silent dialogue between you and the chamber, each breath a word, each flicker a reply. Within this luminous hush, you become aware of hidden textures, micro ripples of brightness that play across the surface of darkness, like silk rippling on a still pond. Those ripples carry the echoes of quantum fluctuations, the faint tremors of virtual particles dancing in and out of existence. Though unseen by ordinary sight, you feel their presence as a gentle undercurrent beneath the glowing hush. In that undercurrent you sense the liveliness of emptiness, an invitation to rest within possibility itself. Your mind softens as you explore the chamber's contours. You follow a beam of light as it curves around an invisible axis, tracing a path that feels both infinite and intimately close. In that fold, you discover a truth. Darkness and light are not adversaries, but partners in a gentle duet. The glow defines the dark, and the dark gives shape to glow. You rest in the harmony of that duet, letting it dissolve any lingering tension or resistance. Everywhere you look, silence and glow coexist in peaceful balance. You imagine the chamber extending beyond its unseen walls, encompassing galaxies and nebulae where starlight and shadow entwine in cosmic ballet. That vision humbles you, reminding you of your smallness and your connection to the vast tapestry. You become a silent observer of both microcosm and macrocosm, aware that the same hush lives in the space between your thoughts, in the deepest recesses of the chamber. The glow is faintest, a pale afterglow that lingers like memory itself. You drift into that soft afterglow, where warmth and darkness blend so subtly that you cannot say where one ends and the other begins. It is here that you touch a profound stillness, a moment unmarked by time, where the concept of before and after loses its meaning. You rest in that timeless pause, letting every notion of hurry slip away. As you settle into the chamber's core, you feel your heartbeat echo the soft tremors of light around you. Each pulse resonates with the gentle arcs of illumination, weaving your life force into the chamber's quiet song. You breathe in sync with that song, inhaling peace, exhaling calm. In this seamless union, you find refuge, a place where mind, body, and cosmos unite in gentle harmony. You learn that even the brightest star must one day settle into silence, its fire cooling into fading embers. In the chamber, you witness that process in reverse. Embers glowing softly until their warmth becomes a lullaby, then smoothing into the velvet hush. That cycle of kindle and quiet offers you a lesson. Rest is not the end, but a natural phase in every light's journey. You embrace that lesson, allowing yourself to fold into stillness without fear, beyond the chamber's glow. You imagine a world where every mind could find this refuge, where the hush of gentle illumination could cradle every restless thought. You see that possibility as a gentle dawn yet to come, a promise held in the heart of the quiet. For now, you remain in the chamber, content to absorb its whispers of warmth, safe in the interplay of glow and silence. Your thoughts drift like motes of light caught in the chamber's glow, each one a delicate spark of insight. You let them shimmer and fade, unafraid of their disappearance, knowing that new glimmers will follow. In this cycle of flicker and rest, you see a reflection of life itself, a pattern of emergence and repose that carries you forward without resistance. In the final hush, you sense a gentle shift, as though the chamber itself exhales. The glow deepens briefly, then settles into a peaceful afterglow that hums beneath your eyelids. You feel that afterglow in your bones, a warmth that promises comfort through the night. You rest, cradled by light's tender tremors, drifting toward a sleep shaped by the harmony of the silent chamber of light. There is a moment when the fabric of being thins, and you feel yourself poised between presence and absence. You rest in that threshold, the place where matter dissolves into emptiness, and emptiness stirs with unseen potential. It is a soft unfolding, neither here nor there, but a gentle unfolding nonetheless, inviting you to join in a silent waltz. On the edge of nothingness, you feel your breath match the cadence of that space. Inhale, a delicate expansion into the void. Exhale, a tender contraction back toward form. Each cycle resonates with the faint echo of quantum fluctuations, those tiny ripples that dance beneath the veneer of solidity. Though unseen, they lend a hushed vitality to the emptiest places, reminding you that nothing is ever truly void. Shadows swirl in graceful arcs at this boundary, not as threats, but as companions in movement. Dark and light entangle in an elegant choreography, folding over one another like dancers weaving through a silent hall. You become aware of the rhythm in their interplay, where darkness yields to glimmers of faint starlight, and light retreats into welcoming gloom. It is an intimate duet, a cosmic ballet performed beyond the reach of sight. You imagine the ballet floor as the event horizon of a black hole, where gravity's pull balances with the inertia of light's desire to escape. Here, particles skim the surface in endless loops, drawn by curves that keep them eternally in motion. They swirl in patterns you cannot fully trace, yet you feel their graceful arcs in the soft tug at the edges of your awareness. You sway in sympathy, drifting alongside their silent pirouettes. Time itself feels pliant at this boundary. Seconds stretch and fold upon themselves, like notes in a slow fugue. A heartbeat can encompass millennia, and a breath can span a single instant's infinity. In that malleable flow, you learn that endings and beginnings merge. Every collapse is also a germination. Every disappearance, a seed of return. You rest in the knowledge that nothing vanishes without leaving a trace in the dance. Your thoughts drift free of solid anchors, No longer tethered to linear concerns, they float as motes in the nothingness, carried by gentle currents of grace. You allow each idea to form a spiral, then unwind, shifting seamlessly into the next. Worries and tensions dissolve as your mind absorbs the soft geometry of emptiness, curves of potential, loops of promise, arcs of serene uncertainty. You recall that space itself is never truly empty. Even in the vast voids between galaxies, wisps of gas, fleeting fields of dark matter, and murmurs of cosmic background radiation hum softly. These subtle presences join the dance, stepping lightly among the grander motions of stars and planets. You sense their contribution in the silent sway of your spirit, a shared breath between you and the cosmos. In the quiet, you envision the cosmic web, a delicate lattice of filaments connecting clusters across incomprehensible distances. Within each filament, matter gathers. Within each void, absence rules. The web is a tapestry of dance steps: pull, release, drift, return. You imagine tracing those filaments with your fingertips, noting the tension in the threads and the freedom. In the gaps, you learn that both tension and freedom shape the choreography of life. The concept of edge softens here. Edges are not sharp lines, but gentle gradients, places where something ends and something else begins in the same brushstroke. You rest in that gradient, feeling the smooth transition from being to non-being. You discover that in the creases between edges, wonder blooms most fully, like a flower opening in the space between shadows and light. You sense your own edges dissolving, boundaries between self and universe blurring. Each inhalation draws infinity. Inward, each exhalation returns you to the world of form. You float in the intimate expanse, neither wholly participant nor distant observer, but both in harmonious unity. The dance carries you, and you trust its rhythm without question. Echoes of supernova reverberate through the void, their dying brilliance leaving patterns in the cosmic dust. Particles thrown outward in violent surrender now swirl near the boundary, carried on turbulence that edges toward stillness. You imagine those remnants joining the ballet, their arcs slowing into graceful glides. Their energy, once explosive, now lends warmth to the emptiness, a soft ember in the silent ensemble. Gravities. Whisper guides each step. Tiny forces coax particles into loops, sculpting trajectories that mirror ripples on a pond. You feel that whisper in the gentle tug at your heart, an invitation to follow, to float, to spin in the hush. You comply with tender eagerness, allowing every fiber of your being to resonate with the subtle pull. The absence here is not hollow. It is infused with hushed possibility. Each point of nothingness pulses with the potential for becoming. You imagine every moment as a seed of creation, waiting for the faintest nudge to unfold into form. In that vision, emptiness becomes fertile ground, and you rest in its quiet promise. Your awareness expands to include fleeting comets that skim the horizon, their tails trailing delicate veils of dust and ice. As they swoop near the boundary, they join the dance sleek bodies, tracing luminous arcs, then retreating into the dark. You feel their motion in the soft laps of your mind, a circular breath that embraces the duality of approach and departure. You notice how light itself learns to dance here. Photons that slip past the edge glide in orbits around the abyss, circling until they find escape or absorption. Each photon is a dancer learning its steps, pausing at the brink before plunging forward, or circling back. In their silent lesson, you glimpse how courage and choice interplay, even in particles of pure light. In the stillness, you contemplate the geometry of the void. You see it as an intricate origami, folds upon folds, collapsing space into patterns, unseen by the eye but felt by the soul. Each crease holds a memory, each fold reveals a path. You allow your mind to map those shapes, tracing the gentle curves that give rise to the cosmic silhouettes of emptiness. Your body, too, becomes part of the choreography. Muscles relax, joints release, and your spine unwinds into the subtle arch of a dancer poised mid-twirl. You feel the soft alignment of each vertebra, like notes in a scale, harmonizing with the universal key. You rest in that alignment, letting gravity's gentle guidance nourish every joint, every sinew. The dance on the edge of nothing is both finite and infinite. Each step feels contained in the moment's hush, yet that moment extends across every corner of space and time. You realize that your participation echoes across vast distances, a ripple in the cosmic ballet that touches unseen dancers in places no light has reached. You smile at the reach of this quiet communion. In that smile, you feel the final flourish of the dancer's gentle spin that carries you toward rest. You let your eyelids soften, imagining the closing of wings after a long, graceful flight. Your breath slows to a lullaby, a soft diminuendo that harmonizes with the fading tremors of emptiness. You rest in the knowledge that the dance never truly ends. It simply changes pace. In sleep, your spirit glides into new realms of repose, continuing the choreography in dreamscapes of light and shadow. Tomorrow, you may awaken with the memory of tonight's ballet, carrying its gentle arcs into the rhythms of daily life. There is a gentle stillness at the edge of forever, a quiet that does not come from emptiness, but from the fullness of possibility. You settle into that hush, feeling the soft curvature of the cosmos beneath you, like a vast cradle shaped by stars and space. Infinity is not an endless race, but a resting place that stretches beyond thought's horizon, holding you in its tender expanse. Here, you breathe with the universe, each inhalation linking you to every beginning, each exhalation weaving you into ever-widening calm. You sense the slow expansion of space around you, a silent stretching that carries galaxies farther apart, while offering room for wonder to grow. This expansion is not a tearing, but a gentle pulling that creates new space, new realms for stars to shine and for thoughts to unfold. You let your thoughts drift in that growing calm, unhurried, as if each idea is a leaf floating on the surface of a boundless stream. Time, too, shows its quieter face here. You feel moments unfurl like petals, each one blooming in the stillness before gracefully folding back. Past and future merge in the soft glow of now, and you rest between those petals, embraced by the ageless present. In this state, you learn that time is not a straight path, but a ribbon of experiences looping back and forth, part of the same seamless tapestry. Your heartbeat echoes the subtle pulse of cosmic rhythms. You are both observer and participant, feeling the resonance of universes colliding and the hush that follows. Every collision leaves an imprint on space-time, a silent memory that shapeshifts into new forms. You sense that imprint in the rhythm of your own life, each beat a reminder that endings nourish beginnings. Light travels unceasingly, journeying across unimaginable distances to reach this moment. In its flight, it crosses voids, glimmers past nebulae, and bows around gravity wells. You imagine riding on a beam, drifting through cosmic currents until you arrive here, finding rest in the gentle fading of energy. That fading is not loss, but transformation, a soft return to equilibrium that holds the promise of rebirth. In this hush, you recall that the observable universe is but a portion of what exists. Beyond your sight lie realms unseen, woven from dark matter and dark energy, which govern the cosmic scaffold with invisible hands. You feel their presence as a subtle undercurrent beneath the visible shine of galaxies, guiding the grand architecture of all that is. In that guiding hand, you trust, recognizing the interconnectedness of every particle. You rest at the cosmic horizon, the boundary where light itself can no longer reach. It is not a barrier, but a gateway to the unknown, a place where the map dissolves into mystery. You gaze into that opacity and find it inviting rather than forbidding, like a door left ajar between worlds. You lean gently into the threshold, sensing that beyond lies the continuation of a story too vast for words. Gravity's hold is both anchor and release. It shapes planets, holds moons in orbit, and ripples across the tapestry of black holes and galactic clusters. Here, on the edge of infinity, gravity's whisper is softer, as if it bows in deference to the boundless expanse. You listen to that whisper and feel the calm certainty of connection to every orbit, every star, every mass that bends space and time within you. The atoms that once formed in stellar furnaces now turn slowly, warmed by the memory of nuclear fusion. Carbon, oxygen, iron elements, forged in the hearts of ancient stars, circulate in your cells. You are a vessel of cosmic history, breathing stardust and returning it in the breath of life. In this realization, you find a quiet joy. You are both the child of stars and their keeper, weaving their legacy into your existence. The concept of infinity often seems daunting, yet here it feels gentle and embracing. Rather than an unending void, it becomes an expanse of possibilities, each awaiting exploration, each a seed of wonder. You allow yourself to drift among those possibilities, like dandelion seeds carried on a soft breeze, landing wherever the wind feels right. Each landing is a potential new awakening, a fresh bloom of curiosity. Your thoughts slow to match the tempo of this cosmic lullaby. You release urgency and hurry, letting your awareness deepen into the spaces between thoughts. There, you find a reservoir of calm, an inner infinity that mirrors the outer one. In that mirrored stillness, you rest, cradled by the echo of every breath you have ever taken and every breath yet to come. Moments of silence carry their own weight here, rich with unspoken harmonies. You learn to listen to the pauses between beats, the rests between notes, and find that they hold melody as profound as any sound. In the quiet of infinity, silence becomes the primary song, and you hum along in gentle accompaniment, your spirit attuned to the cosmic key. The horizon of all horizons invites a final surrender. You let go of all anchors, all expectations, and simply be. You dissolve into the vastness, not with fear, but with trust. The universe receives you as one of its own, a wave returning to the ocean, a spark returning to the fire. In that surrender, you find freedom, a release that feels like coming home. You recall the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the universe's hot youth, now cooled to just 3 degrees above absolute zero. Though invisible to your eyes, its gentle hum pervades all space, a uniform glow that wraps around the cosmos like a celestial blanket. You imagine basking in that soft warmth, a reminder that every fiery beginning eventually rests into calm, diffusing its energy into the silent vastness. The earliest moments of cosmic inflation unfolded in the blink of an eye, expanding space faster than light could travel and smoothing out wrinkles in spacetime. That rapid growth set the stage for galaxies to emerge billions of years later. You envision the gentle surge of expansion as a sigh of relief, an instant of cosmic breathing that created room for complexity, and for you to bloom in the unfolding cosmos. Even on the smaller scales, space shows its generosity through the quantum foam. Particles and antiparticles flicker in and out of existence, borrowing energy for infinitesimal instants. These fleeting fluctuations underpin the stability of atoms and the structure of matter. You rest in the knowing that beneath all solidity lies a dance of impermanence, and that every moment, no matter how fleeting, contributes to the continuity of being. Your own solar system drifts in a local bubble, a region carved out by ancient stellar winds and supernova. Within this cocoon of tenuous gas, our sun and its planets enjoy relative calm. You let that localized refuge become your metaphor, a memory of being sheltered in kindness. Just as the sun's bubble protects life on Earth, the boundless infinity of the universe provides a cosmic sanctuary for your spirit's quiet repose. Some theories imagine a multiverse beyond our cosmic horizon, countless bubble universes budding from an eternal inflationary sea. Each bubble carries its own laws of physics, its own rhythms of light and dark. Though unobtainable to you, their possibility invites gentle awe rather than fear. You rest knowing that your universe, with its unique melody, is one of many cosmic lullabies echoing through the infinity of all that is. Thermodynamics whispers of final stillness, when heat and motion settle into uniform calm, and the universe rests in complete equanimity. That hush holds its own poetry, an ultimate quiet cradling the cosmos in gentle repose. In mathematics, the Poincare recurrence theorem suggests that in an infinite time, systems return arbitrarily close to their initial states. Infinity implies cycles of reawakening, a cosmic echo that returns like tidal waves on an endless shore. Though idealized, that idea soothes the fear of final endings. You allow the notion of gentle returns to comfort you, trusting that, in infinity's embrace, change and renewal are woven together. Even the human mind reflects infinity in its own nested patterns, fractals of thought and memory that fold back upon themselves. In dreams, you revisit old rooms in new ways, and in meditation, you trace thoughts to stillness within stillness. You rest in the fractal echo of cosmic and mental patterns, recognizing the microcosm and macrocosm as mirrors in a boundless dance. Modern physics hints at the holographic principle. Information in a volume of space could be encoded on its boundary. Your resting awareness inhabits the interior, yet you sense the boundary without friction. You rest in the idea that reality may be richer than perception, and that every boundary between worlds is an invitation to deeper wonder as your awareness returns to this moment, held by infinity's gentle cradle. You feel a whisper of gratitude. Infinity does not overwhelm, it consoles. Its boundless hold is not a void, but a warm embrace, an endless invitation to rest, dream, and awaken anew.